Hi, I'm Gena. Today, I'm going to be walking you through how to deploy a live model in Foundry. Live model deployments are great for when you want end users to be able to interact with your model in applications like Workshop. Before we begin, a quick word from our founder.
Discover how Palantir customers unlock more value from Foundry and AIP thanks to our live instructor-led trainings. We are Ontologize, a group of former Palantir engineers who love teaching. We've trained thousands of Palantir users at leading organizations around the world. Unlock the full potential of your Palantir deployment by going to ontologize.com.
By the end of this exercise, we will have built the following application. In this application, which is built in Workshop, we're able to select various instances of these bike demand observations. And you'll see here that we can see the predicted demand based on the model. And so here, the predicted demand for this specific day is about 5,500. As a user, we might want to be able to try out and see what would the demand be if the temperature was different or if the wind speed was different. Now here, we can see what the original values from that day are. So temperature is 19 degrees, wind speed 11.5 about. Now what we can do here is we can modify these values. So say I can force the wind speed down to 0 and see that the predicted demand is now over 6,000, which makes sense. It's better experience to bike on a less windy day. And so naturally, you'd expect to see higher demand if the wind speed is 0. So let's get to building. So in order to complete this exercise, you're going to need to begin with a trained model. Now, in one of my prior videos, Introduction to Machine Learning Operations in Foundry, we did train a model called Bike Predictor Model or Bike Predictor or something similar. And so you're going to want to complete that module before you do this one if you haven't done it already. If you already have a trained model, then you can start from there. So from our repository, you're going to click on this hyperlink, Bike Predictor Model, or whatever you called it, and click on it. And now that is going to take you to the model overview page. Now, in order to create a live deployment, we don't actually have to submit this model to a modeling objective, but you can if you want to use that to evaluate the metrics and whatnot. Now, our first step into creating our live deployment is going to be to hit Start Deployment. And then you can add some additional configurations here, and then we're going to hit Start. So we're going to give that a few moments to start up, and then we're going to wrap the model in a function. And so now, once you see that it's running, your deployment is ready to go. So next up, you're going to wrap this model in a function so you can use it in applications like Workshop. So from here, you're going to hit this plus sign and give it a name. We can call this something like Bike Demand Prediction. And for the advanced options, you're going to keep row-wise processing on. And now we're going to hit Publish. And now that you've wrapped your model in a function, we have one more step before we use our model in Workshop. In our implementation in Workshop, you may notice that we're clicking on instances of this bike demand object type to feed values into the model. So that means that in order to complete this app, we're going to have an object type that represents one instance of bike demand or one day of bike demand. So before we continue building, we're going to have to create a new object type. So from here or from wherever you are in Foundry, you're going to hit Control-J. And you're going to search for Ontology Manager. Now you can open that up in a new tab. So here we are in Ontology Manager. So now from here, you're going to hit New. Make a new object type. Now we're going to be using an existing data source. So you're going to hit Use Existing Data Source and then select Data Source. Now let's take a pause. What data source should we be using? Realistically, you could use any data that has the attributes that you care about to feed into your model. But in this case, I'm just going to be using the bike rentals data set that I started out with, that I split into training and testing. So now I'm going to search for bike rentals and click on that. And now I'm going to hit Next. And you might want to prefix this with your name in case anybody else is doing the same exercise on your stack. I'll call this bike rental observation. Now, there's actually a bike icon, so we can give this a little icon. and then make it a color. And now we're going to hit next. And so you're going to be mapping all of the columns of the data set to properties on the object. For the primary key, I'm going to use the instant, which essentially is like a record number for us. In reality, you might want to choose a more descriptive title key, but we're using instant for now. And now I'm going to hit next. No need to generate any actions for this. And then we're going to hit create. So here we are, we've created our object type, and now we can hit save, and we're ready to go build in Workshop. And then hit save changes. Now, remember, before you start building in Workshop, you're going to have to wait for this index process to finish, and then you'll be ready to go. So now that you're not seeing any spinning stuff here, we are now ready to go. So from here, you're going to make a new Workshop module. So you're going to hit Ctrl-J, and you're going to search for Workshop. So now we're going to click on Workshop. And now from here, you're going to hit New Module. And I'm going to call this one Sample Bike Demand Prediction App. And now I'm going to hit Save. So now here I am in Workshop. Before I bring in any sort of objects or any sort of models, I'm just going to lay out what this app is going to look like. And so over here, I'm going to have my bike demand observations. And now on this side here, I'm going to call this one modify inputs and predict. So on this side here, I'm going to have an object list that allows me to select different instances of the bike demand records or these bike rental records, seed those inputs into the model, and I'm going to display the result on this side. So over here, I'm going to be displaying instances of my bike rental demand data. And what's going to happen is the user is going to click on a record, and then it's going to put those inputs into the model. We're going to display the model output here, and also give the user the opportunity to modify some of the inputs into the model. So first, I'm going to add a markdown box to display the prediction. So I'm going to hit Add Widget, and I'm going to type in Markdown. And here's where we're going to show our results. Now I'm going to add another section, and this is where the users are going to be able to modify the inputs into the model, or at least some of them. And I'm going to flip these around. Now I probably want this to take up more space, so in the display, I'm going to set this to flex. And now in this box here, I'm going to hit Add Widget, and this is going to be a numeric input. And I'm going to add one below. Then here we have another numeric input. And so in this numeric input, users are going to be able to modify the temperature. And in this numeric input, users are going to be able to modify the wind speed. So now that we've roughly laid out our application, let's put some data in. So first, we're going to navigate to the variables. Click on the X. Now you'll see that we have a couple here, which we're going to go over. But for now, I'm going to hit the plus sign, make a new object set from an object set definition. And I'm going to call this one Bike Rental Demand Observations. Now the starting object set here is going to be Bike Rental Observation. And I'm going to select it. And we're just going to keep all 700 something records here. That's totally fine. And now I'm going to close this out. And I'm going to display that in my object list. So I'm going to click on it. And then the object set is going to be my bike rental demand observations. And for interest, I'm going to add all the properties. Now let's invoke the model in this app so we can have live predictions. So from here, we're going to hit the plus sign. Now, what type is it going to be? This live model returns a struct. And so we're actually going to make a function-backed struct variable, and then we're going to use Workshop primitives to unpack the struct. So it's a new variable, a struct, and then a function. So we're going to click on that. And now we can give this variable name. We're going to call this prediction. And the function is going to be, I'll type in predictor to find mine. So I have two. I'm going to use this later one. So I'm going to click on it. And now you'll see that this function wants inputs. These inputs are the features that the model asks for. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the user selection from this object list, take all the property values off of it, and then feed those into the model. Now to do that, we're going to have to create a bunch of numeric and string variables that capture those property values. So we're going to start doing that. So I'm going to hit this plus sign. I'm going to make a new numeric variable, and it's going to be an object property. And so this first one is going to be temp. And so the object set that we're going to be starting with is the user selection from the object list 1. And the object property is, of course, going to be temperature. Now, as a little shortcut here, I'm going to duplicate the variable. And now this next one is going to be a temp. And the property instead of temp is going to be a temp. Now I'm going to duplicate again. And next I have humidity. And the object property is going to be hum or humidity. I'm going to duplicate this again. And now we have wind speed. And the property is going to be wind speed. And now we've covered all of our numeric variables. And so now we're going to move on to creating some string variables that capture the string property values. So now we're going to make a new variable. It's going to be a string, and it's going to be a object property backed string. And now this first one is going to be season. Now the object set, once again, is going to be object list 1 active object, and we're going to be grabbing the season property from it. Duplicate again. So now instead of season, we're going to take year. And the object property is year. Duplicate again. And so next up we have months. And the property is months. We duplicate again. Now we have holiday. And the object property is holiday. And we duplicate again. And now we have weekday. The object property is now weekday. And then we duplicate again. And now we have working day. This is our second to last one. The object property is working day. And now we have our last one, which is weather sit. And the object property is weather sit. And so now we have created all of our inputs for our model. So now we're going to go back to the prediction struct, which is here. And now we're going to feed those inputs in. So for season, it's going to be season. For year, it's going to be year. For months, it's going to be months. For a holiday, it's going to be holiday. For a weekday, it's going to be weekday. Working day, we have working day. Weather sit, going to be weather sit. Now, temperature. Here we have our numeric variable. So temp. A temp. Humidity. And wind speed. And now we have a response from our model that has all of the other features returned as well as the prediction. And so now that that works, we can't really display the struct to our user. We're only going to want to display the prediction from the struct. So now we're going to extract the prediction field from the struct. So to do that, we're going to hit the plus sign, make a numeric variable, and that numeric variable is going to be a struct field. And now we're going to call this one prediction value. And the struct is going to be prediction. And the field is going to be prediction. And so here we have extracted the prediction, and now we have a single number that we can display in our Markdown widget. So now let's put that into our Markdown widget. So we're going to click on the widget. And instead of the text, we're going to display a variable. So we're going to select string variable, make a new string variable. And this string variable is going to be a variable transformation. And we're going to call this one prediction message. Now the transform that we're going to do is just a simple concatenation. And so we're going to add a little markdown here. So results. the prediction for this day is, we'll do the double stars to make this in bold, / to reference a variable. The variable we want to reference is prediction value. Add a space, and then we're going to say bikes. All right, and so here we have our prediction message. Now, this is interesting. So we can see that as we click on different records, we can see the model predictions for those specific days. Now, this is going to be much more interesting if the users have the ability to modify certain values and see what the results are should the inputs change. And so here, let's give the users the ability to modify temperature and wind speed. Now, what we want these to do is we want temperature and wind speed respectively to display the defaults from the selected record, but we also want it to be responsive to the user change. So what you're going to do is click into the temperature box, delete the current output data, and instead, the default is going to be temperature, which is that value that we defined. So what we have here is we have the ability to display the default from the selected object, while we still have the power to modify it. So I could update the current value, and then I can reset it as follows. Same for wind speed, I'm going to delete the current output data and change this to wind speed. And now it's going to show a default, but I can also update the value. So again, like we showed in the earlier demonstration, if I change wind speed, it's probably going to have an effect on the demand. And so if I bump up wind speed from 11 or so to 20, you'll see that currently the prediction is about 5,500, but if I really bump this up, let's even say 30, you'll see that the prediction drops. 30-mile-per-hour wind could be fairly unpleasant to bike in, and so that makes sense. Now, note here that you could set up a workflow like this with scenarios, but we opted not to do that in this case. Now, note that you can also do a workflow like this using scenarios if that's what you need for your use case. And now make sure to save and publish, and then you can see how your work looks in view mode. And that's it. Now we have surfaced a live model in a workshop app. Thanks for watching. We hope you found this helpful. Let us know what you want to see next in the comments.